Welcome friends to another r/petty revenge video. If you enjoy these stories, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And our first story of the day is by Dark909911. Nobody's taking your crap anymore. We all quit. I was reading about some people, how they quit their job on the spot and the company went under. This is when I was part of a mass walk-off. This happened in the late 90s when I worked for a concrete company. We were the ones pouring foundations, footings, floors, etc. It was long hours, but the pay was good. Most of the guys on the crews were awesome people with a great work ethic. We also had some that were slower, but not too slow to impede the job. Well, boss man was micromanaging, interfering, loud. I don't think I ever heard him when he wasn't yelling, and didn't think anything about grabbing a worker to yell in his face. 1 week before the walkout, we were working on a foundation for a kiln at a sawmill. There wasn't enough people in all the crews to do the job, so we hired some locals to work until the job was finished and paid the same as us. We didn't care. More hands, more work done, and them getting paid the same as us, we considered they were lucky. No hard feelings and seemed to get along with all the new guys. One of the new guys was not shown how to do a certain task and thought, who better to show me than boss man? So we walked over and asked to be shown. That is when all heck broke loose. Not sure if boss man was already in a bad mood or if this caused it, but within a second of asking, boss man had the guy by the throat against a wall and slapped him so hard he fell over the safety fence and had a 4-foot fall to the concrete floor. Boss man just walked off the job site and drove away. This was a time when cell phones weren't very common, and none of us had one, but the two-way radio in the truck had an emergency channel. The foreman radioed for an ambulance and police. The foreman went in the ambulance with the worker and filled out his police report at the hospital. Lucky for the worker, he ended up with just bruising and nothing broken. Since the foreman was the second in charge, he had all of our home numbers and gave us each a personal call to let us know the hospital report and to ask us to get together for a group chat. All of us showed up, except one, the guy who got hurt. We passed it off to he was too sore and thought no more on it. Not only because it was a pub and the first round was free, but to find out what everyone's thoughts were. Other than the new guys, we were all happy enough to just walk away like boss man did and let him suffer the consequences of breach of contract with the sawmill. They just wanted the money. This is when our except one limped in. He told us he just came from home after talking to the officer in charge of the case and said boss man just was arrested for assault causing bodily harm or something of that sort. I can't remember right off. That settled it with the locals. They were all charging him with breach of contract since he hired them to complete this job and now they can't. The next day, we were all at the job site and when boss man showed up, we each walked up to him and said directly in his face, "I quit," then went to our vehicles and drove away in parade fashion. He ended up with such big fines through his company for breach of contract at the sawmill that took up everything he had saved, and he had to sell off equipment to make ends meet. Then came the 6 or so temp employees with their claims. The court sided with all of them, and he was made to pay out each contract in full. That broke him, and he had to let the bank take almost everything. I don't know why, but his wife stuck with him even though she admits he got his just dessert. She comes from a family of money, so even if he's broke, she's not. Even more fallout, remember that guy he threw over the fence? Yeah, he won his case too, and boss man had to spend close to 5 months in county jail, a huge fine he couldn't pay, 1-year anger management courses, and volunteer at the local food bank. If there was more, I can't think of it right now. In the end, his in-laws loaned him money to start up again, and for the last 10 years he's been doing good for himself and is actually a great man to work for. I like to think that his entire workforce walking out one by one had something to do with it. I hope this fits as revenge. Considering what the guy did and how he was acting, do you guys think he should have ever been able to make it as a boss in any capacity again? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. All I'm saying is if I was going to work for a place and I found out that the manager or the owner had previously choked a person and threw them over the fence, I probably would start moving my resume somewhere else. This next story is by S.E. Misk. Kid gets revenge on toxic mom with Socks? So my mom is a very toxic person, the type who blames everyone else for her misfortunes instead of owning up to her mistakes and trying to grow as a person. Always has to be the victim, always has to one-up whatever problems you're having. It was tough to grow up with and is still a pain to deal with. I'm a 28-year-old female. Mom used to be really particular about her socks. Every pair was unique, and she was far too snobby to wear mismatched socks. I know, lame, right? I used to wear mismatched socks just to irritate her, but that's not actually what this story is about. She's also an alcoholic, so she'd often drink too much and forget and lose things. One day, when I was 12 or so, my mom got sloshed and started telling me that her life would have been better if she had aborted me. Yes, I see a therapist, and I highly recommend therapy to everyone. I was very upset, but I was a 12-year-old girl who hadn't developed a backbone yet, so I didn't have the guts to tell her off. But I just had to do something. I didn't exactly ask to be born. Cue petty revenge. Every night when she'd get tanked, I'd steal one sock from each pair and stuff it behind the dryer. After a week or two of this, Mom no longer had any matching socks. She exploded and asked if I were wearing her socks, and I innocently told her that no, I was not wearing her socks and that maybe she lost them after a few drinks. Mom was displeased. Eventually, she found her stupid socks and remained suspicious of me, but she couldn't prove that they hadn't just fallen there. I don't think there's anything wrong with wearing mismatched socks. I think there's entire styles developed around that, right? Aren't there entire styles developed around that? Two totally different socks that kind of work together by not working together? To be honest, I do look for matching pairs when I put socks on, but if I'm on my way out and it's two white socks with minor details or writing or whatnot, it doesn't really bother me and I'll wear mismatched socks no problem. This next story is by TalonCard815. Act like a butt because the manufacturer changed the packaging. Enjoy your restocking fee. I run a business selling fire and EMS supplies. Because this crosses over into some civilian education, CPR training, we have quite a few civilian customers. One of them has only placed 2 orders with us for 2 years. The order is for CPR training valves. These are plastic pieces that go on the face mask for mouth-to-mask training. They're cheap alternatives to using the actual one-way valves that come with the mask. They used to come 10 to a box and just sat loose in the box. The manufacturer changed the packaging to be more hygienic. They come in a sealed Ziploc style bag and are individually wrapped. This customer places a 2 order with us a full 1.5 years after her first. A good year into the packaging changeover. She orders 1,600 of these valves. We don't keep that many in stock, so we have them drop shipped from the manufacturer. 2 weeks after they're delivered, we get a phone call from the buyer. We sent her a completely different item, and this is not what she wanted. She wanted a full refund and for us to pay return shipping. I ask her what is wrong with the product. She states they come in bags and she wants them in a box. I explained that they don't come in a box anymore. This woman doubles down and insists I'm cheating her. I ask why she insists on having them in a box. She says this way she can just put them on the table and have people pick one out as they grab the other training material. Ugh, talk about unhygienic. I explained to her that she can just take them out of the bags and put them in a shoebox or any box and still accomplish the same thing. Nope, she wants them in a box. If I can't send them in a box, then she wants her money back. I again explained that no manufacturer offers them in a box anymore. They all went to the more hygienic packaging. This woman is being a complete witch, so I do something I never do. In writing, we state our return policy is they pay a 20% restocking fee for all returns. Again, I have in 15 years, at the time, never enforced this policy. I've also never encountered such a raging witch. Since the item wasn't defective, I told her I wouldn't refund the shipping either, and she could pay for return shipping. This crazy woman said fine, they were useless anyway. This crazy woman lost $350 in shipping, had to pay another $350 to ship it to me, and had a over $400 restocking fee. In the end, it cost her almost $1,200 and she had nothing to show for it. some petty revenge. I then just sold off the inventory now with a little extra inventory on each. I think it blows my mind that they would be willing to just pay more than double the cost of the original shipping to ship it back, even when they don't even get a refund on the original shipping. There's so many numbers dancing around in my brain right now that's why would you spend any of it? I know it's useless, but at the same time, they're not useless items. They're still good. I think this one, no matter how you frame it, is just going to be a head scratcher. Our next story is by Nectar Love Agape, The Rotten Salon. This happened about 10 years ago, and I still feel pure glory and gold when reliving it and telling my tale of revenge. I'm a career hairstylist and worked primarily in the big city. I was in the middle of a nasty divorce and opted to move back home to cool off at my parents' place in rural middle-of-nowhere farmland. I was adamantly against doing hair in town because I wanted to keep a low profile and just heal quietly. Well, long story short, an opportunity fell in my lap that, looking back, had red flags all over it, but I was getting restless and bored, so I chose to take it. This salon owner was about ready to pop, having her 5th kid with the 5th dude. She had no one else working in her shop. My mom's best friend went to her and was like, "Oh, I know this girl, blah blah. She grew up here, she's good at hair and moved home from the city," so on and so forth. So I meet her and she asks me to run her shop and keep the doors open while she's having the baby. So I do just that. I already know the entire town. She disappeared for almost 6 months with very little communication about when she may return. I just do my thing and keep the lights and water on, slaying hair. So one day she shows up, demands that every appointment in the schedule is now hers, and I can pack my things and go. I don't budge. I explain gently that I'm not going anywhere. I had a signed contract stating specifics and it was legally binding, and I go about my business. It was a few months later, things seemed to have a flow, although she was super intense and insanely jealous of me. What can I say? I had experience and education and lived and breathed my trade, but we did seem to coexist at least. One day, I get there and my key doesn't work. She won't answer the phone. I had no access to my appointment book or my tools. She tried to have me trespassed from the property but was unsuccessful. She left town with all my belongings locked in the shop for an entire week. During this time, I talked to the attorney my mom worked for who did employment law. He told me to take his leash off and he would shut her down. I told him that wasn't necessary. I just needed my tools and my appointment book. I already had another salon lined up. He did call her and freak her out though, and I had other plans of my own. What my friends and I ended up doing was planting spoiled meat all around her shop in the bushes. Collectively between us all for at least a month, there was a daily deposit of some kind of meat item in the landscaping. We hooded up like total night creepers and, by the light of the moon, hid steaks, ground beef, roasts, chicken thighs, anything we didn't need or want or was already going bad or freezer burnt. It all ended up surrounding her shop, hidden deep in the bushes. It's hot and humid and it's summertime. Stuff was getting absolutely foul around there. People in town are talking. Walking past the odor was overwhelming. People stopped going for a variety of reasons. I'm sure that may have contributed. I felt that signified her rancid spirit and rotten personality just fine. Now, I've heard of all kinds of ways people have done pro and petty revenge stories, but gathering up a bunch of expired meat and just kind of planting it secretly around a shop? That's a new one for sure. And to be fair, I do think that's pretty effective. I'm just imagining if you were out on the town and you walked past a barber shop that smelled foul and rancid, and it really was only localized right at that shop, you might have a lot of question marks. It definitely wouldn't inspire me to stick around there longer anyways, though I do think it would be a little bit more effective if it was some kind of restaurant. But with that being said, that's a wrap on another bunch of stories here today. As always, if you guys have any favorite videos of this bunch, let me know which one in the comments down below and why. And if you enjoyed the stories in general, if you could subscribe to this channel, it'd mean a lot to me. I make these videos daily, and it's by far and away the best way to support my channel. So no matter what you did, whether it was subscribing or liking, leaving a comment, I just appreciate the heck out of you guys. And as always, I'll be back tomorrow with even more stories right here on the Storytime channel.